all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business. Good morning. This is the daily morning update from Bloomberg Quint, and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 16th of June. Here's everything that you need to know. More than 3.3 lakh people have now been infected by COVID-19 in India as of yesterday morning, with the pace of new cases rising even further. India added over 11,500 cases in the 24 hours to 8 a.m. yesterday. Meanwhile, in Tamil Nadu, Chennai and adjoining areas will go back under the lockdown from the 19th of June to the 30th, without the current relaxations and a full-scale shutdown on 2 Sundays, according to Chief Minister K. Palaniswamy. During the 12-day period, only essential services will be allowed with restrictions, he said. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to hold talks with state chief ministers this week to take stock of the current situation. Even with the rise in cases, authorities continue to assert that there is no community transmission in India. In other news, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has asked private banks to provide liquidity support to small businesses and effectively implement the credit guarantee scheme rolled out to ease the economic crisis triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic. Sitharaman said this during a video conference held to ensure effective rollout of the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, according to the Department of Financial Services, which said this in a tweet. In the automotive space, Tata Motors will cut 1,100 more jobs at Jaguar Land Rover and defer or cancel investments at both its domestic business and its luxury arm as it looks to pare debt amid a collapse in demand during the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a clear call from the Tata Group that Tata Motors and JLR must form a strong deleveraging plan, according to PB Balaji, who is the Chief Financial Officer at the Tata Group. This comes as the automaker reported a consolidated net loss of 9,894 crore in the quarter ended March. In the banking space, Lakshmi Vilas Bank has found a possible second investor after a merger proposal with Indiabulls Housing Finance was rejected in October. In a notification to the stock exchanges yesterday, Lakshmi Vilas Bank said it has received a preliminary non-binding letter of intent from Clicks Capital Services and Clicks Financial India Limited. India's trade deficit stood at just $3.2 billion in May as merchandise exports plunged 36.5% and imports fell 51.1%, according to data released by the Commerce Ministry. In April, merchandise exports and imports had declined 60.3% and 58.7% respectively. In international news, the Federal Reserve said yesterday that it will begin buying individual corporate bonds under its secondary market corporate credit facility, which is an emergency lending program that so far has purchased only exchange-traded funds. The central bank also spelled out for the first time how it plans to implement its buying strategy, saying it would follow a diversified market index of U.S. corporate bonds created expressly for the facility. Equity markets in the U.S. were volatile in yesterday's session but swung to positive territory after the Fed's announcement. The S&P 500 closed up 0.8% after swinging from a loss of as much as 2.5% to a gain of as much as 1.3%. The Dow and the Nasdaq ended higher by 0.6 and 1.4% respectively. Markets in the Asia-Pacific region were strongly positive at the start of trade today, with the three early risers gaining over 3% each. And with that, it's over to Agam Vakil for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Agam. How are we looking today?
Good morning, Alex, and good morning, listeners. Well, strength has returned to Asian markets, which is why the SGX Nifty futures is also higher by around 100 points at this point in time, which means we may very well likely expect a strong opening this morning. We start with earnings from Tata Motors. Perhaps on expected lines, revenues did decline 28%, but the company also posted a net loss which was much higher than expectations. Net loss stood at 9,894 crores against a profit of a little less than 1,200 crores, and its EBITDA margins on a consolidated basis stood at 3.8% versus 9.3%. Now, the reason why we are looking at a net loss which is wider than expectations is one, because of provisions of impairment of passenger vehicle business, which stood at a little over 2,500 crores, and there was also another exceptional loss of 2,800 crores, which impacted the bottom line. Now, we must remember that Jaguar Land Rover, which was also down 24% and came up with a loss before tax of £501 million. In an update, the company has said that the first quarter of the financial year will be significantly weaker, and the company has deferred or cancelled its low margins investments. Moving on, we have Shoppers Stop. Once again, revenues declined 10% and coming out with a net loss of 133 crores versus a profit of 11 crores. And the company's earnings were impacted by like-to-like sales growth, which contracted 16%. As on date, the company has 53 department stores, 7 home stores, 61 beauty stores, and 2 Arcelia stores which are operational, but they are gradually increasing operations. Today we can watch out for HPCL, Ipca Laboratories, NMDC, Navin Fluorine International in terms of earnings. Moving on beyond earnings, we have Shriram Transport Finance, where the board has approved raising of 1,500 crores via rights issue and 2,500 crores via specified securities issuances. And finally, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, which will be in focus as it signed a preliminary non-binding letter of intent with Clicks Group in relation to the proposed amalgamation of Clicks Group with the bank. Under the non-binding intent, the proposed amalgamation is subject to completion of mutual diligence in exclusive window of 45 days and will be subject to regulatory and other customary approvals. Now, these are just some of the stocks you can watch out for as we move into trade today, but don't forget to go through our morning edition of All You Need to Know only on BloombergQuint.com.
Thanks, Agam. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.